Who are the two players on Georgia that are the most valuable players, offense and defense? It's going to be really interesting because we have a list of those. We want to tell you who they are next. Locked on Bulldogs.
You are Locked on Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked on Bulldogs podcast. He is Clint. I am Daniel. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more at FanDuel. Thanks to them for bringing us today's episode. More on them in a moment. FanDuel, an important sponsor of this episode, one that you're going to want to pay attention to, especially in segments 2 and 3. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Thanks for being an everydayer. Those of you that join us every single day, we appreciate you. We love you guys. Thanks to everybody who subscribes to the audio podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Thanks to everybody who has taken the time to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Those things mean a lot to us. We're just a little upstart Georgia podcast that a lot of you happen to listen to. And so for two idiots that like to talk about Georgia, that is a lot of fun. And we appreciate it greatly. So let's jump in, Clint. You mentioned it. We're a little over halfway through the season at this point. But time for a little mid-season awards. Time to maybe pause. It's the bye week. It's actually the second bye week. And so in the weird year that is college football this year, it's Georgia's second of 2 bye weeks. And so let's pause and let's reflect on what we've seen from this team so far. And let's do that by announcing the offensive and defensive MVPs of the season. I'm going to start, Clint. I'm going to start on the offensive side of the ball. And offensive MVP shouldn't be easy, but it is. Actually, well, I'm going to tell you why it shouldn't be easy, and then I'm going to tell you why it should be easy, and then I'm going to tell you who it actually is. So it shouldn't be easy because this Georgia offensive line should make it really difficult for me because there's 5 of them, and they should have dominated every game this year. And I should be having to pick and choose one guy out of this most dominant unit to single out and call the MVP. And it should be a really difficult thing. And I waver about it. And then in the end, I come back and I say, it's actually the whole offensive line is the MVP, like so many people do so often. It's not that complicated because, to be honest with you, the offensive line, it hasn't been the MVP of this team. They've been hot and cold. They've been up and down. We've seen flashes of brilliance from them, particularly in pass protection. They have been elite this year. And then we've seen, even in pass protection, games when Ernest Green forgot how to play football, forgot how to block anybody in a game. We've seen failure to open up holes in the run game. A consistently lacking effort to blow people off the line of scrimmage, to convert on short yardage runs. And so it should have been more difficult, but the offensive line didn't make it difficult for me. Now, it should have been, on the other hand, it should have been really easy to talk about an offensive MVP because it should have been Carson Beck. Like
overall draft choice, best quarterback in the league by a wide mile, yada yada yada. Heisman, New York invitation. None of that
things that we said at the beginning of the season, but now have drastically changed our tune on. It's Carson Beck was the preseason not only unanimous MVP of the Georgia offense. He was the unanimous MVP of the Georgia football team. He was the unanimous MVP of the Southeastern Conference. Like, if you listen to these two idiots talk, he was the unanimous MVP of all of college football.
Yeah, we're morons.
So he should have made this a very easy decision, but he complicated things for me because Carson Beck, like the offensive line, has been wildly inconsistent. at times. He has played really well and won games, carried Georgia to wins in games, and he has given games away for this Georgia football team, or forced Georgia to win in spite of him in certain moments of games. His inconsistency has probably been the biggest frustration of watching this Georgia football team. There's only one person on the offense that we said a couple shows ago, the number one problem before the Texas game, leading into the Texas game, that the number one problem for this Georgia football team came down to the word inconsistency. Remember, we did 3 words. We talked about the word
We did.
inconsistency. When I think about the Georgia offense, there is literally only one human person that I would not label as inconsistent this year. And so, by a wide margin, the offensive MVP of this Georgia football team is Trevor Etienne. Like,
Hands
he
down.
is not only the best player on the team, on the offense, but he's also the most valuable player on the offense, because he's the player on the offense that you can count on to do his job each and every time he is on the field for a snap of the football. Whether his job is picking up a blitz or running a route or carrying the football or finding the hole, he's going to do his job on each and every play. And I can't say that about anybody on the wide receiving core. Drops everywhere on that unit. I can't say it about any of the tight ends. I can't say it about any of the offensive linemen. I can't say it about Carson Beck. I can't say it about any of the other running backs. It's Trevor Etienne. He is the offensive MVP. And I'll just say this to you, Clint. If Trevor Etienne is the offensive MVP in the second half of the season, the way that he was in the first half of the season, I'm not saying we won't win a lot of games. I'm saying I'm not going to be thrilled about what I've seen from this Georgia offense, because I need some other players, whether it's Carson Beck, whether it's somebody at the wide receiver position, whether it's the offensive line. I need some more guys to step up their level of consistency down this home stretch of the season. And I need to see them week in and week out, down in and down out, play in and play out, live up to the standard that is Georgia football. And that goes from Mike Bobo all the way down to the backup right tackle, or, whoever it is that might or might not be coming into the game. So it's Trevor Etienne for me, Clint, by quite a long shot.
We're going to come back after this, give you some locks for this weekend, but first these. These are, in fact, FanDuel. FanDuel.com make every moment more. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Podcasts everywhere. And right now, you can go ahead and get $5 bet, give you $200 in bonus bet straight to your account. That's $5 bet, $200 in bonus bet. FanDuel.com, they're the official sportsbook. And right now, NFL, NBA season's kicked up and going. Get over there right now. Check it out. Because every time Daniel and I give you locks and odds on these games, like we're going to do coming up, it's this. This is the most important website to go to, the official sports book of Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Podcasts everywhere. Your team every day here, and your team when you want to bet and make some money over there. FanDuel.com, make every moment more. All right, Daniel, let's start locks. We got a whole lot of early slate. We're talking like every single day from here on out. You got any locks early on in this week for the people? This is Thursday, so anything tonight or Friday for the people?
I like UNLV at home on Friday. I think this is the game. By the way, I do not recommend staying up till the end of this game because it's a super late one. I mean, these college football loves these Friday night games. And Clint, I don't know if you know this, but they always hit. The Friday night games always hit. And Boise UNLV is a sneaky, really, really fun football game. Boise obviously has been really good this year. They have the best running back in college football. He's trying to win the Heisman Trophy. But I think you're going to Vegas, and I think these are not only the two best teams in the Mountain West, these are two of the better group of 5 teams in all of college football. I think the home field advantage for UNLV on a Friday night, I think they find a way to win the game on the field. And so give me UNLV plus 3.5 on Friday night. I actually like them a lot. I'll sprinkle a little bit on the money line, but that's my first lock.
That's good luck. I would lean that as well. I don't have action in it, but I do like that. Another good sneaky game on Thursday night. So if you get some action, 4:30 kick. Syracuse and Pittsburgh is going to be pretty good. 6.5 is a spread. I don't have a block in the game, but I would lean actually Q's in that one, plus 6.5. I'll take the points. Under the 7 looks a little odd, looks a little fishy to me. I'm going to start off the beginning on Saturday, right, bright and early. Washington goes out to Indiana. Indiana is playing lights out right now. And why it's fishy for me to look at Syracuse and Pittsburgh with a 6 on the hook, because I think they're trying to get action. Maybe some, I don't know what's going on there, but I like the Q's in it. This 6.5 is for Indiana being favored by that. Seems like they just want action so bad. And you know what? I'm here for it. Give me Indiana, given 6.5 to the Huskies coming on in. Washington's not a good football team. Indiana has everything in front of them. Everything in front of them. They're a good team, and that coach don't care 2 cruds about the putting up points on you and running you out of town. Give me Indiana 6.5 favorite. Daniel, what's the next game for you?
Well, I'm going to stick with that game, Clint, because I hate this pick. I absolutely hate it. My pick, I'm talking about. I hate my pick. But I'm taking Washington, and I'm taking the points. Indiana's starting quarterback is out. And I know the backup came in last week, and he played well. But I'm just not buying now a week to prepare for him. There's got to be a drop-off in the quarterback play, and I just think you're coming off of that big win over Nebraska. This is going to kind of be a theme for me this week in the picks. You're coming off this huge win over Nebraska at home, and now you got to follow it up with another early kick. Lowly Washington coming to town. I think the atmosphere might be a little bit sleepier, and so I'm actually going to take Washington in this one, and I wouldn't be surprised. I would hate it because Indiana's a super fun story, but I wouldn't be surprised if Washington found a way to win this game. Speaking of Indiana, Nebraska. Give me Nebraska plus 25.5 against Ohio State in the Horseshoe. Ohio State plays Penn State next week. They are looking ahead to that game. It's on the road. 100% Ohio State needs to win that game if they want to make it to the Big Ten championship game and have a chance to get revenge against Oregon and get that first round bye. Nebraska got crushed last week. Absolutely demolished by Indiana. They're not that bad. And so if I'm going to catch 25.5 against an Ohio State team that's been inconsistent, give me Nebraska plus 25.5, Clint.
I'm not going to bury the lead anymore. One of the bigger marquee games of the weekend, besides LSU and A&M, 2 other ranked opponents. Yes, I said ranked opponents because Vanderbilt is, in fact, ranked 25th. Texas and Vanderbilt. Texas goes on up to Nashville. Vanderbilt's not going to win this game, but I am going to sprinkle some on the money line because I think there's a better chance than them winning the game than people are giving them credit for. And so, yes, I'm going to sprinkle on there. But 18.5, I know Texas is angry and mad and everything. But let me tell you this right now. You don't think that at the first incompletion that Quinn Ewers has an open receiver, he puts at the foot of the receiver, that somebody's not going to be calling for old Arch to come on in. Sarkisian, you did this to yourself. No one else to blame but you. You did it to yourself. You're the problem. Vanderbilt is getting 18.5 at home. The reason I think that they cover this easily is because they're really good at controlling the ball, and they're really good at taking away the deep plays and making a team march. I think just the clock that's running all the time in college football, we see lots of unders hitting. I'm going to take Vanderbilt 18.5, and I'm going to sprinkle some on the money line because bet chaos in college football, and that would be abject chaos. Daniel, what's the next game you got?
Florida State, Miami. Anyone?
Okay,
Anybody want
here
to
we
talk
go.
Florida State, Miami? I like a lot of things in this game. I like laying it with the Hurricanes because did I mention Florida State is the opponent in this game? But I think what I like even more than that is Miami team total over 37.5. Listen, what we have seen from Miami this year is that offense can score, and they can score really quickly. What we have seen from Florida State this year is that they have no players and have quit on their coach and have no hope of ever beating anyone ever again. Combine those two things together, and I mean, people are. I just don't think we've even reached people's understanding of the bottom of this Florida State team yet. Like, it's a team that got waxed by Duke last week. Miami is maybe a fraudulent undefeated team, but they are vastly superior in every way imaginable to this Florida State squad. And so, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. So give me Miami over 37.5.
A horrible game that nobody should watch, but you should go ahead and bet and then just move on from it is Utah against Houston. Houston has been blanked 2 of the last 3 games. They can't score any points. Utah is without Cam Rising, which by all accounts, they never were with Cam Rising this season. So let's just chill on that. Utah has losses against TCU, who's a bad team. Arizona State, which is an okay team. Arizona, okay team. They beat Oklahoma State. They beat Utah State, and they beat Baylor. It's been an up and down season so far from Utah. But if you're telling me, I think Vegas wants action on Houston. Houston, again, like I said, 0 points in against Iowa State, 0 points against Cincinnati. They do beat TCU, which is crazy to me, and then they get blown out by Kansas. This is a don't watch game, but give me Utah 3.5. I think just talent-wise, composition up and down the roster, Utah has more of that going on. I know this game is at Houston. It's not that big of a travel. It's not that far of a travel. I think the composition of talent, and I think Kyle Whittingham coaching is going to cover that 3.5. This is a stay away, don't watch game, but bet on it. Give me Utah giving the 3.5 to Houston. I think they cover that by a touchdown or more. We're going to come back after these, let you know a couple more locks that we have, but first, these. These are, in fact, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money on sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awards winning, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy accessible to all. You just pick more or less, at least 2 players for a shot up to win 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with the picks. We love Prize Picks. Daniel and I are them all the time. We understand who you guys want to be part of, and that is, again, Prize Picks. It's compelling, and it's so fantastic. You need to go over there right now. Look, here's the deal. You can now win 100 times your money on Prize Picks, little as 4 correct picks. Want to play Prize Picks alongside Drusky Joe Budin and MMA champ Sean Sugar O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tabs in the app and view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Pick community. Prize Pick puts members first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, secure. When my Prize Picks hit, I get my money out as soon as possible, up to 15 minutes. Sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that lead to big payouts right now. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more action. Download the app today and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks.com.
All right, Clint. Couple more locks for the people, and then your defensive MVP, which we never got to in segment 1 or 2. Let me go to the big game of the weekend, though. We haven't talked to LSU, Texas A&M. We talked about it on yesterday's show. We haven't talked about it on today's show. Let's see. If I think LSU is going to win the game and they're catching 2.5 points, Clint, what should I do? What
you should do two things, Daniel.
Who should I bet on? How does it work? Betting is hard. It can be confusing sometimes.
That's right.
But if you think the underdog's going to win the game, you take those 2.5 points and give them to me. Like, LSU has an improved defense. They have a fantastic offense. And I think they're the more tested team. I think they're the more ready team at this point. I know it's a road game, and I think that factors in to this. I think that's the only reason that A&M is favored. But I like the Tigers in this matchup. And A&M's won the last 3 in a row in College Station against LSU. But I think this LSU team is built a little bit differently in the sense that the defense is improved and will be able to slow down Texas A&M's offense, which is not dramatically high-powered. And so, yeah, give me the Tigers plus 2.5.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sprinkling on the money line on this game as well. I think LSU is going to cover the 2.5. I think 2-point game, 1-point game. But Daniel, my money line sprinkle is actually on A&M to win the game. I'm going to take the points. I'm going to do a close contest. I actually think A&M comes out on this. I'm so confident that I'm putting on the money line. I'm not even doing the negative 2.5 because I think this game is so close. It might be 20-21. Even if it's 17-20, I don't like how close that is. I think A&M wins, but I am going to take the points of LSU because I think this contest is actually going to be low scoring. I don't anticipate a high scoring game. I don't anticipate it getting up in the 30s. If you want another one, take the under. I got 3 bets in this game. Take the under of 53.5 on it because
don't hate
2023, 2021 is going to be for my money where it's at. So give me the under of 53.5. I think Nussmeier, I think Wigman, I think the defenses show up. You commented about LSU's defensive coordinator bringing some heat on this. I think he continues to bring it. I know Kyle Field's going to be wild and crazy in that atmosphere. So I think they eke out a win, but I do want LSU with the points, and I do have under. So I have 3 on this game. Daniel, how many more do you? Yeah, I got a lot of action on this game.
I'm spent. I do think little brother could go to the big house and get a win, though. And so forget it. Randy, put me on Michigan State plus 3.5 going on the road to Michigan. Michigan's trash.
Michigan's awful. Daniel, like by all accounts, they have no players. Terrible. They have no coach.
No.
They are spiraling into one of the most mediocre programs in America again. Y'all remember when you fired Carr because you thought you can do better, and then you went through 8 seasons of one-and-done coaches who couldn't do anything? Get ready.
You're in season 1 of that right now.
You sold your soul to the devil of Harbaugh and Stallions to win a championship that will have an asterisk on it from henceforward, and now you are irrelevant. So good on you. Daniel, a couple more picks for me as I look at this slate of games. Arizona is welcoming the Mountaineers of West Virginia into their stadium, and I actually love this line because I think this game gets out of hand for Mountaineers in a hurry because Arizona is only a 3.5-point favorite. I think they blow the doors off West Virginia. I don't think West Virginia has much of a mounting offense compared to what Arizona is going to be able to do. Arizona, I think, has a lot going for it right now. Coaching staff is up. Players are up. Player development's up. I like where that program is going. And even though the record doesn't indicate that, I think this is, again, maybe like a Utah-Houston. Maybe don't watch this game. It's the same point spread, but give me Arizona giving the 3.5 at home. A game I really, really am curious about because I really want to bet it. I want to bet this game so bad. And by the time Saturday morning comes up, I may convince myself to do that. But Penn State goes to Wisconsin. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you know what happens next week for Penn State.
I do. I mentioned it when I talked about Ohio State.
Ohio State, Penn State play a game next week. And by the way, if you want to get early action in that, Ohio State's a 3.5-point favorite at Penn State. At Penn State, 3.5. Penn State welcomes or has to go on the road against Wisconsin this week. It's a conference game. It's a big game. It's not that big of a spread. I want to bet Wisconsin so dang bad for a look ahead spot and on the road. It's a night game, which gives me a little bit more positive. If it was a sleeping morning game, I would have already put some money on it. But I'm gonna wake up Saturday. Maybe cooler heads will prevail. Maybe I'll pull myself off of that.
They won't, guys.
I'm betting Wisconsin by the time Saturday morning comes around, and I'm going to hate every single second that game is happening. Every second that game is happening.
The good news is you may only have to hate it for like 2 quarters because Penn State may be up 21 at halftime. So like you may get to turn it off at that point.
Y'all, I'm here to tell you it's going to get weird. Look ahead games are real. And that conference and those teams are bad. It's Penn State. It's James Franklin at the end of the year with a chance to go to the conference championship and the playoff. And if I know anything, it's that he can't stand good things. And so there's good likelihood that he will do that. We're going to wrap up by giving you my defensive MVP for this Georgia team, and that is Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker is him. He's the first player in a very, very long time to have the number of tackles, 7 tackles, 3 sacks, all before half against the number 1 team in America on the road, no less. Jalen Walker is the MVP because this was the most important game on the schedule against Alabama. We did show up in the second half, but not the first half. And so it meant nothing because we took the L. And you look at consistency, there hasn't been one major consistent person on the defense outside of Dan Jackson and Ingram Dawkins, which have been very consistent, but they haven't impacted the game quite like Jalen Walker has. Jalen Walker propelled himself, showed a performance for the ages. This was something completely different and completely other. And he put us on his back. Him and Michael Williams, the same thing. The edge defenders really, and said, we're going to go to the promised land. And that's what makes him the MVP. Nothing more, nothing less. It was the Texas game. And it's not just that. I mean, he's played great elsewhere, but that really solidified it up to this point so far this year. Now, somebody else, Ingram Dawkins, Dan Jackson, could come up and be the MVP if they make some stellar performances down the stretch against Ole Miss and Tennessee in the SEC championship. But for right now, it's Jalen Walker simply because of that all-world performance against Texas. He is Daniel. I am Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. We'll see you guys next time talking about them dogs. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.